Men, do you ever feel like you just can't get ahead? Like you're misunderstood? Like you have no one to talk to that truly hears you?
And women, are you often frustrated, hurt, and saddened in your relationships with the men in your life?
What if there were a community of like-minded men going through the same challenges that would support, hear, and understand what you're going through?
Working together in unison to create understanding, intimacy, and strong connections. That's the Way of the Illuminated Warrior.
Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show is a forum of candid conversations for men and women about men. Being a man today is not always easy. Until now.
All right, welcome to the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show. I am your host, Waska, and I am pretty stoked today to introduce you all to an incredible individual who is serving the community here in Asheville, North Carolina, in a truly beautiful way. Man, touches my heart. So Michael Greenfield is amongst many aspects and qualities. He's the director of the Asheville Community Yoga Center. So it is my pleasure to introduce my brother from another mother, Michael Greenfield. Thanks for joining today, brother.
Thanks for having me, Waska.
Yeah. So I really feel this is going to be a very rich conversation. Before we dive in, I just want to say, I am like in awe of what you have created at Asheville Community Yoga, because I had a very challenging year and I needed something in my life. And I found the studio and I went in there, I don't know how many months ago. And you know how like when people say like, I feel like I'm home. And that was the welcoming that I got when I walked in there, from whoever was working the staff to the people I met there to the whole energy and vibe of the place. And then I watched the video of how you kind of created this and your mindset and intention. I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be. So let's start there, man. Like, I want you to share, because I think this is really important, a little bit of your history, because I know you were in business and you did a lot of different things, like how you just intended to build this incredible community here in Asheville.
Wow, that could take days.
Well, I'll cut you off because I want to talk to you about a lot of things, man. I'm going to keep you on track.
Well, I feel like in some ways I was breeded in a way from a very young age to create money, to create energy, to be in the flow with life. And so at a young age, I learned how to work and make money. And as that happened, I realized in my early 20s that making money was just one kind of currency that was serving me and others around me, but also this inner currency wasn't necessarily being addressed. And over time, I've just used the practices and the tools, different traditions to help my body, my physical body, definitely my emotions and my mental body, and even my psychic body to become more available to this place. And for many years, we go through our process and we learn and we learn and we learn and we think we have it, and then we realize at one point we really don't have anything. And in those moments, that's when Asheville Community Yoga was birthed, when I really realized I thought I had something and then realized I really didn't have anything. And my feeling of not having anything, or just realizing I wasn't, this practice might not be available for a lot of people. At that moment, there was just a switch, like something, the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And so I went through my metamorphosis and realized that I wanted to be able to share this practice to as many people as possible. And I didn't have this direct line from God or this direct perfect plan on how it was going to be. It was more of letting all of what I've learned from birth to the point that I started Asheville Community Yoga, participate in what was going to happen, and then ask others to join me. And that's really what's happened. People will say, well, gosh, what a great dream you had. I said, well, we are in a great dream.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly the way you think the dream was.
Yeah. Usually the
And
way it works, right?
yeah, and I'm grateful for it, because I was just speaking with, I was sitting by a fire. I sit by a fire in the mornings a lot. It's a lot of my prayer time, and just being in nature, and just when I was sharing with a friend this morning about how this place has helped me mature and grow up in a lot of different ways. And so in the past, I matured in the, in the capacity to be able to create money and currency and use it in the world. And this spiritual currency was a different piece. And this place with human beings and traditions and practices have helped me grow up. I'm finally starting to grow up. I'll be 56 tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday.
I'm a little bit more than halfway to dead. I'm like,
Right.
a little more. I'm there. And so thank you. And so I feel like I'm just in the beginning stages of having this understanding of what patience is. And I have 3 children. I think
I was just gonna ask you that, because I know you have 3 kids, and that's where my patience came from when I became a dad. So let's talk about that a little bit, because that's the great humbler and the great equalizer for patience, right?
I would say so. And it's different for everybody. I have a 29-year-old beautiful daughter, and a 31-year-old incredible son in so many ways. And those 2 kids taught me so much. I was very young when I was 22 years old when I had them. And I also have an 8-year-old now. And so something in this lifetime, I needed to, have these beings in my life to really teach me how to be available and be present for them. And not just when things are good, but when, things aren't so good, which, as you know, if you have children, life presents itself in such ways that life is going to be weird sometimes. It's going to be amazing. And as we hopefully have a lot of faith and trust in the process, we know that life's going to correct itself, and hopefully we're part of that correction. And then we die.
That's an interesting way of putting it, but it is accurate. It's accurate.
And die like in a beautiful way. Like, hopefully if we have kids or not. I will say this, and this is something that I don't know this because I have kids, so I can't speak to someone who doesn't have kids. But for someone who has kids, they've taught me so much that I'm curious how others get it without having kids. But I know people who don't have kids who get it. And so there's so many ways to have these understandings.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I think the world needs all of us.
Absolutely.
Some who have kids and some that don't.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. So
yeah, that's a great point. And what I'm hearing you say, which I've experienced in our new friendship and me experiencing you at this center and all, it's really just being, like the beingness, rather than we kind of talked about this a little bit before, even in the men's circle, which we'll touch upon a little later. It's just being, it's not trying to force things, and just experiencing life. And yeah, for me, one of the greatest experiences is being a dad. And so my youngest just surprised me and visited for a couple days, and something very new to me, which is the language is the most challenging thing for me, because they related to me that they're non-binary, and they want to be called they, and they don't want me to call them their son, and it just the language is very difficult, because whenever I say, well, they, and like, well, who are they with? No, they're not with anybody. It's just them. Well, what do you mean? So I think what I mean by that, with the they pronoun. But also we've spoken about it, and it's, well, I don't, and I wanted to understand, so I asked them to explain it. Like, does that mean you like men? Do you like women? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, I'm just in love with whoever I'm in love with. I relate on it. And for me, it's beautiful, because I didn't grow up that way. Probably the same with you. We're close to the same age, right? We weren't taught that. Our dads certainly weren't like that.
No.
So it's a whole new world. So I love what you're saying about that. We need it all, and it's all opportunity for growth and elevation for all of us. Yeah, it's wonderful.
It is, and
if I can, because it ties into what I know is like your two greatest passions are igniting passion and demonstrating love. So talk about that a little bit, because I know that's your thing.
Well, I try.
No, you do. You do. I will attest to you do. I mean, when I first met you, I'm like, he's glowing, man. I love this bro. You know, you put it out there in an authentic way. I have to say, that's my experience of you.
Thank you. I'll take that. I appreciate that. And yeah, so I feel like I've been blessed by having people in my life who have shown me, not just in like, here, this is love, but just energetically, this is what love is. And having that living inside of me feels like no matter what's going on, I feel relatively pretty amazing for the most part. You know, my body breaks down, you know, all this stuff, we all know this, that goes on. And our capacity to love is such a moment by moment choice. It really is. And a lot of it has to do with the way that our breath is moving through us. You know, I think, again, back to teachers who have really just helped me see the parts of me that I thought I was really on. And I wasn't. I was way off, like beyond off. And they were really patient with me in seeing the great part of me and then pulling that out and then giving me tools to really work with the parts that weren't addressed over the years.
Mm.
And so with practice, I'm really big on repetition and simplicity.
Yeah.
And lots of practice. And, you know, love is a strong word. It's a really strong word. And I feel like when we have our breath, when our breath is full and aligned and our body is relaxed, especially the front surface of the body. I know I talk about this in our gatherings together, and a natural process takes place.
Yeah.
And so when the breath is good and full and our posture and our alignment, I don't mean just standing up straight, you know that, all the different qualities of what posture could mean to someone. And then also the biggest thing for me I feel it's brought me through life, and I've been talking about this for years, is my attitude.
Yeah.
Because if I have a shitty attitude, crappy attitude, things just aren't good.
Yeah.
And my kids aren't good, you know about it, and no one's good. And yet when we're able to remember to have the breath, and we're able to be emotionally and mentally straight for the moment, and then usually our attitude tends to just beam.
Yeah.
You know, and when things aren't good, your attitude might not beam, but there's this, and I like to call it the spiritual drip. You know, it's like the slow, steady drip of all these different techniques in life that are coming together that bring us to a place. So when the crap does hit the fan, we can kind of go, oh, and we're able to take a breath, feel our feet grounded into the earth, feel our pelvic floor relaxed. And so we're not, you know, constricting any part of us, or at least most parts of us. And I really wrap that around about being grateful to the people that showed me where I thought I was open and free, where I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think all that we do, all of it, like our capacity to love is directly related to our breath, the way we hold ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and our, you know, our just our attitude that has some faith and trust
Yeah.
in everything, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that. And you said the word that I was waiting to come around, the gratitude. Because to me, like I taught my kids at a very young age, you know, I want to instill in you an attitude of gratitude. And it may sound cliche, but really there's always something to be grateful about. And that's part of my practice. I wake up every day and like say my morning prayers. And when I can't fall asleep at night, I'm like, I didn't give gratitude for the day. I'm still alive. You got nothing to bitch and moan about, dude. And I say my gratitude prayers. Next thing I know, I'm sleeping. You know, so I think there's so much power in recognizing and putting that out there and being grateful, because there are always so much to be grateful for. So and it ties into the love as you're speaking about, yeah, and the practice. So I know, I think I read on the website, you had said something about like the daily practice having the power to change the world, right? Am I right about that? So
I'm really
elaborate.
close. I haven't
Elaborate.
read it in many years,
Oh,
but
it's
that
in
feels
there.
right. It
It's in
feels
there.
right.
I didn't just read it. You said it, you thought it, you
Yes.
felt it, you expressed it.
Yeah.
So elaborate on that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So there's a part of us, at least I can only speak for me personally. There's a part of me that is very straight lined and linear,
Mm,
and uh, it's discipline. And part of that discipline came from years of living in the normal world and you know, brush your teeth and get dressed, go to school and do that normal thing, which I think there is some value in it. I'm not going to put too
brushing
much
teeth,
value.
very important. I was
Brush
just
your
at the
teeth is
dentist,
very
brushing the teeth.
important, right? Yeah. And so over the years, I had some of that discipline. But really, what happened was from the age of about 25 to about 35, I took a sabbatical from the working world, and I had my children. So I was pretty much full on with my children and my wife. My ex-wife, may she rest in peace. And so we had this time together, and it was amazing. And that discipline left, and so it was a little bit more wiggly. There wasn't the shape to hold the container as my first 20 years of my life. And I noticed that I felt like I was drowning and dying, but not in a dying way that I wanted to die in.
Yeah.
And so I realized after about 10 years, I was basically in like a semi-retirement. I sold the business and did my thing, and I realized that no, like that way is a, a cultural thing that I'm not saying it's bad, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so once I got through that, I've just vowed to every day to wake up and like remember the mystery, you know? And to do that, you can wake up and feel the mystery by going to the bathroom and brushing your teeth. That's great. And you could also add some breath, some sitting meditation, sitting by a fire. Some people like to dance. I like to do asana. Sometimes I'll do a little tai chi, a little qigong, and having that discipline. And in yoga, you know, we call it tapas. You know, tapas is discipline, it's heat. And to have this discipline just basically propels the physical body to get up and to do whatever you need to do, because we're in a physical body and we need to have this relationship with our bodies.
Yeah.
And by having these disciplines, put it this way, I got to a point in my life where I'm at a point in my life over the years, I don't want to take a chance on not doing it because I feel so damn good. Yeah. And I don't feel good all the time, but I feel good most of the time. And if I want to give to the world in whatever way I give, there's many ways, we all have our way that we give, we have to make sure that our temple is straight. Our temple is aligned, it's open, it's free, it's available for whatever may come up, and we don't know what's going to come up in each moment. And so by having these disciplines, again, I'm not willing to take a chance on not doing them. And so when students come to me, and we have a lot of students here, and I get a lot of emails from students like, this is what's going on in my life. And first of all, I'm not a coach. That's not my deal. I thank you for all the coaches in the world. I'm not a coach. I like to work with a group of people at a time. And so I'll get emails, and the emails like, my life is basically shit. These are the things that are not going right. This. And so my first question is this, type in like, okay, so what is your daily routine? That's it. Like, what's your training?
Yeah. That's so powerful.
And sometimes the email comes back like, sometimes I don't get an email back for weeks because it's an inquiry.
Yeah.
Right. And so the one thing that's held me accountable to myself and to my beautiful wife that I have now, and my children and this community, has been my steadfast discipline, it's devotion as much as it is hardline and linear. So like this and there, that, I talk about the, well, there's many things I say, but this devotional state is crucial to our evolution. And while we're in the devotion, we also have to be in a state where we're like doing things and participating, right, in the world. And it requires all this. So I share it, and I talk about the transactional state where
you're reading my mind, man, because I wanted you to talk about that exactly.
Yeah. And we're in the transactional state is we're in this agreement in this plane with other human beings and animals and nature that we're going to have transactions together. And we have agreements with these transactions. And while we're in the transaction, we could do that all the time. But if we really want to be a well-rounded person, I feel, at least for myself, I must have this devotion for life. And it's not like I can't force this devotion. And usually this devotion comes from opening my body and feeling the devotion that's all around us right now. Like it's all around us. We just have to open to what's here. And so from the transactional state to the devotional state, hopefully they merge together in a moment's time. But again, being patient, it could take minutes, hours, days, years. It depends on how dedicated we are to love and to serving ourselves and others. And we have a say in the play, right? And the play is so big. The Big Bang is so fucking big. And when we're not remembering, when we're not breathing, and when we're not in our posture and our attitude sucks, we don't remember the play.
Yeah.
And so we just have to remember the play.
Yeah.
However that is, right? I mean, that's where there are many, 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 many techniques to remember what's already happening here.
Yeah. It's that awareness. And like I said, you were reading my mind, because that was my next question to you, because I took one of your classes, and congratulations, because you became a yoga teacher, what, in 2023? 2022, right?
I became a yoga teacher.
I thought I read that on the website.
I think it was around 2001.
Okay, so maybe I read it wrong. Okay, because I was surprised, because I thought I read that on the website. I was like, wow, I figured.
I think it's been about 22 years.
Okay,
so 23 years. Yeah,
I must have read that wrong. I'm like,
I'm not even a yoga teacher. So
well, you're a life experience share, I'll say. So when I took your first class, you were talking about the transactional and the devotional, and I'm like, wow, that I just love the way you related it to the yoga and the postures that we were doing and everyday life, and how it like just flows into a daily practice also. And that commitment and that awareness and that devotion to like, okay, what are you doing with your life? You know, it's not just purely transactional. It's not just purely devotional. We need both, you know. And I love the way that you wove it into the class and just wove it into like a palpable and accessible way of looking at it. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up before I even got to ask you.
Yeah, I'd love to share. So about like teaching asana or yoga, I use this tool to people because want to move their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they're in the room, then there's a platform to connect with them in a way that they've never maybe connected with themselves. And we use the same breath and posture and attitude, and we use all kinds of different words to help them feel their living energy in their body.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to participate with that because it's easy to read a book, and I think book clubs are amazing, by the way, because you can just get so much out of reading a book and just like, whoa, God, this is God, right? And when you're moving your body, space tends to be created.
Mm.
And when you're moving with other bodies, there's this energetic agreement that happens. And then, you know, we get to share some things. And usually by the end of the class, in the beginning of the class, someone might be up here energetically and someone down there, and everyone's wiggling. And by the middle, everyone's kind of, oh, I was there. By the end of the class, everyone's kind of like, oh, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone settles. And then the quality of how available each human being is in the room is just profound.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that I can be in a room with, 30 to 74 people at a time and practice, because I'm practicing as much as they are, if
Yeah.
not more sometimes, as a human being. And so I'm really grateful to like have this platform. And also I will say that my, because I'm going to be 56 tomorrow, and I still have a lot of life left in me, a whole lot of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like I'm about to embark on bringing in, because I usually just work with groups, and now I'm going to maybe work with smaller groups and larger groups to just bring not so much my book knowledge, because over the years I've really dropped a lot of that.
Yeah.
I have. And that part of that was really hard for me and felt like it was right for me. At this point, like my resume is my body.
Yeah, your experiences that you share.
And I don't always have it. And if I don't, I just say I don't have it.
Yeah.
But if I do, I want to share it.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And that's what I get the sense of being, whether it's in your class or any class there. It's that authenticity, and you hear that word a lot, but it really is true. Like nobody's that I've experienced there, from the teachers to the staff to the people who were there, like nobody's trying to push or be something. We're all just there, like having that experience. And again, for me, finding the studio and all, and I don't get there as much as I would even like to. It's just such a comfort to know that it's there. So let's talk about also like I think you call it karma yoga, and it's a donation-based free model, which is amazing to me. How I don't see it as you're not surviving, you're thriving. You just raised $150,000 from donations, and the place it's gorgeous. I recommend, whether you're in Asheville or in Istanbul, come to Asheville Yoga. It's an incredible experience. So speak to that a little bit about like the karma yoga and the staff and just the donation based model that's working, that's thriving.
Yeah, that's thank you. Love to do that. So first of all, we're 13 years in with 22,000 students. Over 5,000 students have given their time to volunteer, either via teaching a yoga class for free, karma yoga, or helping out cleaning bathrooms or the studios, washing the bolsters, the blocks, the yoga mats, or being outside in the gardens, helping out building the parking lot to building all the creating of what's here today. And so this has been, again, a slow and steady drip of what we call karma yoga, where we take this this idea of I'm a human being and I have so many assets to give to this place. And we ask you to give your greatest asset that you would like to give. And by doing so, it's selfless service. You get out of yourself. And this is, for me, and everyone has a different path on how they get from here to there, wherever they go. For me personally, I've gone through, all kinds of different yogas, and one of them is relationship, sexual, intimate relationship. I've done a lot of different things and still doing, and karma yoga seems to be the one that keeps pressing me. Like, oh yeah, you really think you are who you are? You really think you serve in your community? Let me give you this. And so whenever students, friends of mine will call me like, oh, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I hear you. I understand. I'll say, just go out and help someone in the world. Do something and just see how you feel. It's proof. And that doesn't mean you have to help someone. You could help an animal. You could help whatever works for you that helps, that resonates with your heart, go serve. And that's what this place is. It's a demonstration of karma yoga. And it's a nonprofit, so it's owned by the community. But beyond a nonprofit, that's like a legal jargon.
Yeah.
And we use that for donations to help, keep this place going. And selfless service is something that pulls all the stuff that has not been addressed, or at least some of the stuff that hasn't been addressed, and it pulls it out and says, here's a platform to play with that. And teachers, before COVID, we had 90 teachers, 120 classes a week. All teachers teach for free. And now we have about, 90 classes. We're there, and teachers, they're grateful to have a platform to teach and to give their wisdom.
We'll be right back after this. Hey guys, this is Waska. Listen, if you're hearing my voice, there are no coincidences. Are you ready to get unblocked and take the next step forward, whether it's with relationship issues, finances, or just moving into the next phase to elevate yourself? Listen, bros, this is what I do. I'm here for you. Drop me an email at Waska, that's WASKA, at illuminatedwarrior.com. We will work on this together and take you to the next step. I promise you'll be glad you did.
Yeah, so the teachers have a platform to serve. And they, by being here over the years, just the slow and steady drip of this process, they've grown and evolved and have learned so much and shared so much. And the same thing with the students. And so this idea, or this wow thing that we did, it is an experiment, a total experiment. And I had no idea.
Beautiful experiment, I will say.
Thank you. Yeah, I had no idea it was going to be this way. And now that we're here, we're all practitioners. So we have an understanding of what to do when we come here, so that when we do it here, we hopefully do it out there. And so we have our teachers, and we have all the volunteers that just give all their time and all the money. We've raised close to $1 million in 13 years.
Amazing.
And it hasn't been easy. We have had so many trials and tribulations. We have almost closed from COVID, and we have gone through it, and we persist. We are persistent without resistance, hopefully, right? That's saying. And we stay true to our practice. And so all the staff, when they come on, it's a moment by moment. We're at the front desk. Their breath and their posture and their attitude, we're
Mm.
all practicing together.
You feel it when you walk through that door. It's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's like walking through the veil, you know, it's like, as soon as I walk in, it's like eye connection. It's like, hey, how are you? You know, it's
Yes, the
like, welcome
person,
home, you
right?
know?
Yes. And we really try to bring and minimalize the whole screen time thing. I
Right.
know it's been around, and really get into relationships and community so that we can drop into something deeper than the phones. And even though the phones have value, for sure, we know this. I mean, technology has a lot of value. And for us to be able to balance that from moment to moment is really huge. And we had our meeting on Wednesday, and really one of the pieces was around, all right, this week, how much time, whatever time you have on your screen, let's take away a certain percentage
Mm,
and use it to drop into the body.
yeah.
And we have the tools to do that. And so, and then we'll come back next week and report back, and like, how did it go? How does it feel? Do you, right? How available were you or not? And
Yeah.
so a lot of these practices are so simple, and we try to, we apply them at the front desk. Not only that, but the way that the rooms are, so that when people come in, it's really simplified, and they get what they need, and they get on their little island and they drop in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's very welcoming. Absolutely. So to teach and to
yeah.
serve, that's the model, and it works. And it's, again, it's palpable. It's such a wonderful thing that you've created there. So now I really want to talk about what's really dear to my heart, the men's circle, because I've been doing men's work for over 20 years now, and I'm always looking for other circles, other brothers to connect with. So I started coming to the Asheville Community Men's Circle a month or two, or whatever it is. This is my watch. I'm terrible with time. So
Oh,
whatever
good.
it was, but same thing. First time, I'm like, okay, you know, and of course I have my preconceived notions because I've been facilitating circles for years, and I'm like, dude, this is a new space. These are new brothers. Like, let's just experience it. And I'm like, I don't have to be on. I don't have to be facilitating, you know. I'm like, and you're facilitating, and the brothers are all there, and we're all connecting. And it's, again, to me, it's like I always look for a safe and sacred space, which that's something that you've created. And I just love it, man. I just love the connections that I had already with some of these bros, that it's just only a few times and all. So, you know, kudos to you for creating that safe and sacred space where guys are coming, and they may not even know. Like last class I was at, I missed last night, but last week, you pose an inquiry, and it's like, all right, you kind of know what's going on here, and then maybe you prod a little bit more, you hold space, or you just and it's freaking, it's priceless, man. That's the gold of having a men's circle. So how does it all feel to you? Because I know how it feels to me when I'm facilitating and I'm connecting and I'm in that circle. So how does it feel to you?
Great question. First, I love it too. Just it's one of my greatest passions, and I want to give thanks to beautiful friends in my life and teachers that gave me the ability to be in their space together, and then even to assist and then facilitate other men, and then all the men that I've had in my community over the years that we've had in men's groups. I want to give them a thank you for participating and showing up. And because I mean, without other men, what am I going to do? You're right, I have nowhere to go. So for me, for many years, men's groups was a great just avenue to connect, to drop into our bodies, and to really feel our depth and our conscious energy, our presence. And over the years, I did notice, having men's groups for many, many, many years, almost 2 decades, that it was limited to the men that were in the room, in the group. And at that point, for me to be with 10 or 14 men is wonderful. But there's so many men that if they just had a little taste of what's going on behind those doors, they would naturally just understand it. Be like, yes, this is what, I don't know if they've been missing it, but this is what could really serve me. And that's why instead of having a confined men's group with the same men every time, we have what I call the men's gathering. And most of the men come the same almost every week, but then there's always a new man, usually once a week, sometimes two. And it gives them an opportunity to come into the space, feel me, feel the other men in the room, and see what happens. And so I don't know that there's anything more valuable than a human being to have this present, conscious, loving energy in a moment's time. I don't know that I would have said that 20 years ago. Probably not. I'm at
Not
a
where
point.
you were,
I
but
was
you're
not
here
there.
now.
I'm here now, at least for the moment. We'll see. And our capacity to be available is such an incredible, valuable piece of the pie that I feel everyone should have access to.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like when I back in the 90s, I went to this school called Stillness and Motion out on Long Island. And really to date, the most profound thing is the most simplest thing. It's like, be still, be silent, and listen, and you could just go into that, what that even means for you. But that's what I get with the circle also. And like you were saying, like, men may not even know, if they're missing it, but because I'll say I could only speak for myself. Most of the men, and I work with many, many, many men, most of us have not had that experience where another man is sitting in front of you. We could look eye to eye, we could hug, we could touch, and we don't have to feel those strictures that were, I'll say, put on us of like, well, you don't hug another man, you don't cry in front of another man, you don't actually have that presence. Like, I'm here for you. I'm looking at you. I'm not thinking about all this other shit that's going on, but I'm going to be here for you. And I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen. That's all. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm not telling you what you should do or you must do or you have to do. I'm just here. And like, wow, how powerful is that? And we don't usually get that, especially men, right? I mean, women commiserate more generally, but guys don't do that, right?
Yeah. And that's a big thing, because for the first 15, 20, maybe even 25 years of our life, we've been done in a certain way, a certain shape. And so for the rest of our lives, at least up to my 56 years at this point, I would say that I'm undoing these parts that need to be undone. And that requires a lot of this and that, and usually it's around people that have an understanding of like where we're at. So you get, particularly, so right now we'll talk about men because that's the men's gathering. And so we get together, and just by sitting in the room together, we're able, even just by in a circle, we just look at each other, breathe together, smile, and then giving each other permission to relax some of the cloaks that were done and just let ourselves be a little more vulnerable, but still be in a safe space, and then have some trust in each other, right? That we're going to be able to train together, practice together.
Yeah.
And that we're going to grow together. And it's really a beautiful process when you have men that have been there for a while, and their bodies are already, as soon as we get into when we do some practices together, their body's already ready, and they're like, yes, I've been waiting for this. And then you have other men, they're like, oh God, I've never done this before, and I don't know what's happening, and how are they going to take me? Am I good enough? And we just work with that, which is basically our baseline is perfection from inception.
Yeah.
And then whatever comes up for us as a group, that's our offering, and we're gonna like, let's say you're nervous, you could look at someone, another man, and be like, okay, I'm nervous, and here I am as nervous, and I'm still here with you, loving you and feeling the love from you. It's undeniable. And so that action itself gives us the opportunity to go out in the world and maybe have our different kinks and our ways that's been done, and be able to feel the kink or feel the closure, and then use your breath, use your stance, remember the joy of this place, and then gently live through that, whatever's holding us back. And hopefully over time it goes away, but it doesn't. This is one thing that some of
Yes.
the teachers taught me that I'm so grateful for. I don't have to change a lot.
Yeah.
I can be comfortable in my skin while I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. Acceptance, right? And
It is.
not beating
And it's
ourselves up.
awareness.
Right.
Yeah, and
Awareness.
yes, because awareness, you got to be aware. I mean, if I'm just like this and I'm not aware, then I'll just keep doing that. But if I'm aware that, wow, my heart is beating a little faster, and then I can look at you and say, all right, Waska, I don't tell you my heart's beating, but I feel it. And I can still say, I love you, man. I love your smile. I love who you are, right? And then I'm able to do it. It's the same thing when I'm with, my woman or my children,
Yeah.
that I'm available more than not, right? When I'm even having some bodily weird stuff go on.
But it's such a gift. It really is such a gift to experience that yourself, and to do that with another bro, especially because, again, it's like we're you were saying, like we're untraining ourselves to a degree, to just like we'll do the practices of movement or whatever, and just relax. It's okay. Relax. We don't have to be in that fight, flight, or freeze mode all the time, which a lot of us are. That's just the training that we've gone through, and just chill and be and feel and connect. And it's like, I love looking around the circle and looking at other brothers' faces, and like you can tell when they're relaxing into it, or they get it. And it's like, you don't have to be on guard, man. We're not here judging each other, and even if we are, we're just judging ourselves. We're all mirrors for each other, And it's a beautiful thing when we, to tie it all together, when we do the practice, when we have the gratitude, when we practice that devotion. I mean, I know man. It's freaking bliss. It's beautiful. It's you just want to keep doing it, and you want more of it, because it's like, this the way I think it's supposed to be. It's nirvana, right?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, in moments. And, when we're in that circle, and, you were talking about when you look at a man's face, and, when their jaw is relaxed and their tongue is hopefully on the upper palate of the mouth. And when that's happening, that energy waterfalls down the front surface of the body into our pelvic floor, down into our feet. And then we get this settled, authentic energy.
Yeah.
And then we can start talking about purpose and alignment and all of it, right?
Yeah. Well, it builds. We have to have that foundation first. It's like the Muladhara. We have to have the root chakra grounded and in place before we could go to the ajna and then blast off, right? I mean, it's part of the process. We got to build one step up at a time. Yeah.
Slow and steady.
Wins the race. Oh yeah, I had 2 African leopard tortoises, which what a great teacher also. I mean, just the movement. They carry their body on. They carry their home on their back, and just the slow movement and the intentional movement and the vegetarian eating and and the playfulness, and you could learn. I love like the animal allies. I mean, I know your pup is below. And you introduced me earlier, but the animal allies, like I always say, let the animals reach you. It's so important to connect with all beings, because we're all sentient, and we all need that connection to really feel that oneness, I believe. So it's all part of the process. Yeah
And that capacity to drop into that, it's I want to say it's crucial for us individually, so that we're aligned from the inside, and we're truly available, and collectively, this place is crazy. I mean, it's weird and nuts and yeah. And the more people that work from the inside out, it's going to help us all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
quote Jim Morrison a lot. This is the strangest life I've ever known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Well, we could talk all day, I know, but I want to make sure, like, what happened we touched upon that you want to share with anybody that might be viewing or listening to this?
Well, I guess a piece around intimacy. I feel there's in my younger years, I've had some, I'd say, fairly good practice with intimacy, with relationships. And as I'm getting older, feeling the subtle layers of intimacy and the beauty of that. And because, as the body changes, I still feel like I'm really strong. And there are so many layers of how to be in relationship intimately. And so a lot of younger people, you don't know until you know, and you can't know until you live it. It's one of those things. And we need the young bucks, and we need the elders and everyone in between. And so intimacy is just one of those domains that I'm just always awed by and challenged in a beautiful way. And it keeps me, one of my teachers, it keeps me on patrol. But not like I'm waiting to get shot, or it keeps me on patrol to remember to keep my body open and alive, because I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
And when I, come home to my woman, I don't know what's coming next. And for me to be available, it doesn't matter what's coming next.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to put attention on what I think is going to happen or the way I think I want it to go. It's more of my capacity to relax. And normally when I'm relaxed and my body's relaxed, which I can do fairly well, I'm a pretty good listener when that's happening. The moment I'm a little bit tight, or I'm not as good of a listener. And so intimacy just helps me practice more and more and more. And so I just hope that people I know people engage in it, but engage in intimacy in a way that's healthy and can serve each other. A lot of intimate relationships are about what I can get from that other person. And it's the exact opposite. It's literally, we're servants, we're devotees to our intimate partner, and to everyone, but particularly our intimate partner. And if we can remember that itself, it's a game changer, because we become, again, it's karma yoga. It's selfless service.
Yeah.
In all the ways.
Yeah.
And when I am in that karma yoga posture and attitude, and I'm breathing it in, I'm an amazing intimate partner. And when I'm not as good. And so we, hopefully we work on that. And I think that's probably my next realm. I'm in the doing here with men's work, and I've been doing work with intimacy over the years, sprinkled in and out, and feels like I'm at a place where it's lived in my body, and I don't have to read anything, and I just have to be here.
Well, showing up is 80% of success, right?
Right. And so if I'm here, then I feel like I do have something to offer in that realm. So I'm watching that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep watching you, man. Yeah. No. I just want to say, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it really is so important. And And I think a lot of guys also, I don't know, shy away or not used to or not experienced with that intimacy, because you probably hear this also, but I've heard so many stories of relationships, and it's a lot of this, pointing the finger like, well, she or he, or rather than owning, like it's never one-sided ever. There's always this, it takes two to tango, as the saying goes, and just showing up. And maybe it's counterintuitive. And when you give, you receive. That's the beauty of it. The more you give, the more you receive. And, when we start doing that, I believe it's like, wow, this is a win-win for everybody. So I don't have to just keep taking, because that's depleting of everybody. And the giving is just, it's part of again, that devotional way of being. It's a win for everybody. It's a great paradigm to move into. And so again, I just want to honor what you're doing, what you've created, what you're putting out there in the world. It's so vital and so important. And again, I invite anybody who's hearing or watching this, come to Asheville. Check it. Asheville's amazing and on many levels, but Asheville Community Yoga is one of the gems of what we have here. And man, look at that smile. Michael himself and the rest of the peeps at Asheville Community Yoga. It's just it's something you really want to experience. So I invite everybody to come to Asheville and check it out. And my brother, I love you, man. I mean, we're kind of new bros, but I feel a kinship, and I'm happy to be in your space and be in service to you as any way that I can.
Thank you, Waska. I really appreciate you offering that, and I look forward to Wednesday nights.
Yeah. Come on down, guys. So the men's gathering Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Asheville Community Yoga. So, well, thank you for joining me today, bro.
It's a pleasure, brother. Good to see your face, man.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, let's continue to illuminate our lights and our paths with loving kindness.
Visit IlluminatedWarrior.com if you'd like to go deeper and find out more about what's available within the Illuminated Warrior Men's Transformational Community. Tune in next time for more candid conversations for men and women about men on the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show. Until next time, illuminate your path with loving kindness.